And sure. Introducing research research. If you see this introducing research research, the subtopics I would like to deal are demystifying research. What is teacher research? Why teacher research? What is the value of exploring a situation before trying to change it? Coming to what is research? As you know, research is a systematic inquiry made public. The organized systematic search for answers to the questions we ask. Research needs to be planned following an organized procedure. Noonan defines research as a process of inquiry consisting of three elements or components: a question or problem or hypothesis, the data, and analysis and interpretation of data or relevant information. So any research, it should be systematic. It is a systematic inquiry which is made public, and every researcher wants to find some answers for his questions. So these questions are organized in a systematic manner, and the teacher and the researcher needs to plan his research in an organized procedure. And there are three components or elements here. First one, it is a question or a problem or a hypothesis. This is the basic thing in any research: identification of the problem. And this identification of the problem, you can find the gaps which are existing in the present existing knowledge, which is concern to you. And after identification of the problem, we need to collect data in any research. This data collection is nothing but gathering information. And after gathering the information by using different techniques and tools, we go for analysis and interpretation of data. And we'll make a judgment finally. A decision is taken at the end of the analysis and the interpretation of the data. And we can find the relevance of the information after doing any research. And coming to demystifying research, here I want to make you clear what is research. Uh, Teachers often believe that research is not for them. As every teacher, they think it's already done. They may think, sometimes they may think research is done by scientists or professional academics, not by practitioners. And they may also feel research findings are of limited relevance to them. They never feel research is meaningful for their daily whatever they practice in their classroom. And as a real practitioner of classroom teaching, teachers have different kinds of experiences. They may have both successful and challenging experiences in their classrooms. So we need to understand our experiences with some concern whether they are successful or challenging in our classroom. Usually, teachers think successful teaching is when students are engaged, when they are participating actively, and when they make progress in their learning. This is what we feel when students are able to engage. When they were engaged, when they were participating actively, when they are making some progress in their learning, we feel that it is a successful teaching. Sometimes, even though teacher tried different strategies in his classroom, maybe with friendly tone of voice and body language, the teacher may not be able to motivate all the students to develop their competencies, and nothing seemed to be working. Here, it is a situation that teacher feels negative. There is no chance for positive. Teacher not only feels Teacher not only finds, teacher not only hear uh, really anything positive in his classroom. Though he has, in spite of his several efforts and different kinds of implementing different kinds of strategies, techniques, and tools in his classroom, he feels that all the students are not able to come at the equal level of competencies. Maybe it is a overcrowded classroom, or maybe it is a classroom of mixture of heterogeneous group. Maybe the levels of learning may be different, or maybe it may be an inclusive classroom where their competencies may be differ, but teacher expects that every student should come, uh, every student should achieve equal competencies, but it may not be possible, though the teacher tries with the different strategies by using all these things. So such kind of situations we may experience in our teaching career, and those we can call them as challenging teaching situations. And how do we know successful, whether our efforts in the classroom are successful or challenging teaching situations? We may come across many type of teaching situations. Just now we named them as successful and challenging, but how do we know whether they are successful or challenging teaching situations? Here we need to clarify ourselves. Before going to research, we need to clearly know about what are successful and challenging teaching situations. Here, if we see this issue, if we see this idea, we have to understand here few things. The signs of success. There are every time in our classroom, we notice some signs from our students. Sometimes they may be fully engaged. Sometimes you can hear their opinions as they actively participate in our classroom. And you can see them, you can hear them actively participate. You feel that children are comfortable when the results are positive. When you get good results after conducting some test, you feel that students are comfortable with my teaching. But it is not just assessment that decides it's a successful teaching situation, which we need to go beyond the results and assessment. And success is not helping the children perform better in tests also. And we, every time, many teachers, they think that success comes only with results and performing better in tests. But it is not to be considered as successful teaching situation. Even though sometimes there's a good performance by some students, still if we notice there are some students, definitely there will be some students who are still lagging behind. So challenging situation, how to understand this challenging situation? It is clearly, and we can clearly understand this challenging situation that in spite of our several efforts and implementing different strategies and techniques, all the students may not develop equal competencies. So that is one kind of idea we have already. But here, if we see in the classroom the faces of children, we can notice it. And it is not that it seems nothing to be working. We think that when we try some strategy, if it is not working, we think that it is a challenging situation. But we don't know how best we are trying, or how best we are understanding the learners in their perspective. And if we go that beyond it to that extent, then only we can consider it as a challenging situation, but not merely seeing their face, but not merely noticing, but not merely finding that my strategy failed in my classroom. That we should not come to conclusion here. And demystifying research, uh, there are some misconceptions. Generally, we think that lots of reading, we need to go through lot of literature, and we need to, if we want to do research, uh, we feel that lots of reading is essential. But the fact is that no need to read or write a review of what the literature says about a topic before starting teacher research. Our teacher research has that flexibility. And here, the teacher is the practitioner. He knows his problem well, and he can consider his experience, and by being more objective and changing his perspective from the student side. So lots of reading is not compulsory; it is not necessary. And misconception too, writing a paper. Generally, any research, we feel that it's a big book that we publish, and it is a bundle of papers that we write and present. But the fact is that you don't have to write a paper about your research. You can present your research project to your colleagues at school or at a conference, and in a conference you can present to different groups of audience or academicians. And what is teacher research? If we put this question, till now we have simplified, we have demystified what is teacher's research, and we understood that what the research that we feel is not exactly the research that we are going to do. So that idea, now I think I gave you in the demystifying of teacher research. Now let us see what is teacher research. The defining feature of teacher research is that it is research carried out and usually initiated voluntarily by teachers themselves into an issue that concerns them for their own benefit and that of their students. It is therefore a form of practitioner research. Here, the benefits are for teacher. Teacher can benefit by improving his effectiveness of teaching. He can understand the effectiveness of his strategies, and at the same time, there are some benefits for his students if we take this kind of teacher research. It is therefore a form of practitioner research. Teacher, being a practitioner of his classroom teacher, he should conduct such kind of teacher researches so that benefits are there for both teacher and student. Research done by practitioner, here we can include some other people also, like example nurses, social workers, etc. With the intention, here the intention is very important. Here the concern is important, benefits are important, and the intention is very important. With the intention of understanding. Understanding is a very big, broader term when we come to teacher research. Understanding is not what we think that we are understood. We feel that we understood everything, but the intention of understanding from the perspectives of the student. Here it should be at the back of our mind, and perhaps improving their practice. Here, practice is always teacher. With this teacher research, the strategies are always modified. We can take some change, and improvement is always possible in teachers research. And action research, the teacher being a practitioner, the problem concerned to him or an issue concerned to the teacher, whatever it is a problem for him, when he intends to change it for the improvement, when he puts it some kind of strategy in practice, it becomes action research. Action research is the action taken by the teacher which he intends to bring improvement in his practice to be benefited by himself and also by his students. So here action research is practitioner research, which seeks to effect change and evaluate the consequences. So here consequences are very important. The effect of change is seen with the consequences. Consequences are previously expected by the teacher. What is his consequence? He never, a real teacher researcher never wish to forcefully implement his strategies. His main intention is his students should be benefited. So here the consequences are kept at his back of mind, and he evaluates his consequences and he modifies them when they are needed. Most teacher research is centered on what happens in the teacher's own classroom. That means here own classroom is very important. Teacher research is centered that means the problems he faces in his classroom. Those problems are taken for this teacher research. In other words, it is a kind of classroom research. That's why we can call it as a classroom research or classroom based research. But if the project belongs to and is mainly carried out by an outside researcher, this isn't classroom based teacher research. Because the researcher is coming from outside and he is trying to find some kind of consequences. He wants to evaluate some kind of consequences. When the teacher himself is not the practitioner, is not the researcher, then we can say it is not a classroom based research. Teacher research then is practitioner research, usually when it is based upon his own classroom, and which is initiated and carried out by and for teachers for their own benefits and that of their students. If a teacher's result yielded him good results from their students' perspectives, his colleagues can watch it, observe it, and they can suggest him few changes, or else they can carry out such kind of good strategies in their classroom for solving their problem. Why teacher research? If you see this question, as a teacher, when we have doubts about our own methods in the lesson, we need to focus on our students' interests before focusing on the content. But we usually think that content is the problem for them, but it may not be that. And this is this definition is given by Camila Villalobos. According to him, as a teacher, we should not find fault with the content. We must doubt ourselves about our methods in the lesson, and also concentrate on the students' interests, whether my methods are triggering the interests of my students. And simply, we should not suspect that this content is not suitable. And teachers need to make a more careful look at a particular situation, because situations, we understood teaching situations, we named them as successful teaching situation and challenging teaching situation. But simply to understand them thoroughly, if we want to understand the situation thoroughly, we must be very careful, look more careful at a particular situation. The signs what was working or not working. Sometimes if we depend only on signs that we feel, hear, and see in the classroom from the faces of students, from the participation of the students, it is not appropriate, it is not complete, it is still incomplete, and it is still inappropriate to come to a judgment that my situation it is a kind of challenging situation when students are not responding well. If we come to that conclusion, it is not the correct thing to judge that it is a challenging situation. That means we need to still go through the situation very carefully, and then only we should decide it as a challenging situation. Challenging, it may not be from the side of the students. From the side of the students, it may be from the side of the teacher and methods, and sometimes maybe other reasons. The teacher needs to collect additional information for understanding the situation better. This is very important. When the teacher starts to look very carefully at a particular challenging situation, whether it's challenging or a successful situation, the teacher needs to get some kind of additional information for understanding the situation better. to make it better in greater detail and from different perspective. Here, the details to find the methods appropriateness to understand to bring the change and improvement in teaching. This research expects from every teacher researcher that he needs to gather additional information before he go to implement some kind of strategy, some kind of technique in his classroom while conducting his research. He should not think that suppose your students may be very poor in communicative skills in English. Don't think that giving them group activities based on communicative skills in English can yield you good results. Sometimes they need different kinds of treatment here. So that's why we need to see in a different perspective from the side of, from the students' perspective, and we should interview them. We should give a questionnaire to them and try to get additional information from them. Next, the information collected can be useful to make interpretations of a given situation. So one of the best approaches for addressing classroom problems or issues or challenges is action research. Here, the information that you collected, whatever the teacher researcher collected, it can be useful because we have gathered the information with from the student's perspective with the different kinds of tools. The data, whatever the data or information, we can say information or data that we obtained from the students, we can interpret them and analyze them and come to some kind of conclusion, and we can modify and we can select different approaches that are best for the students to address the classroom problem, because our main intention is to find the solution for the problem, for the challenging situation. So let us coming to the next one. What is the value of exploring a situation before trying to change it? What is the value of exploring a situation? A situation here is explored. Exploration of the situation is important before trying to change it. If you want to make some change in a situation, first don't go directly, don't try to change it directly with your own perspective. You need to go and explore the situation still to understand its various perspectives. Here, action research involves attempting to improve a situation. Action research is, as we discussed, as action research is taken by practitioners. Here, action research involves attempting to improve a situation. That is fair, but via some kind of new action and evaluating what does or does not change. What can change, what does change or does not change. This can lead into a further cycle of attempted and evaluation and so on. So here, action is always modified if the situation is not changed. If changed, it's okay, it's better. The teacher will stick on to that action. If the action does not change the situation, the teacher in action researcher, he tries to take another action. In this way, the cycle is further attempted and evaluation and so on. The process will be continuous. First, here in action research, it is shown in the picture here, figure 1. In our handbooks also it is there. So here the first step is reflect. Here my students seem not to be motivated. When we come to that conclusion with the observation of when we see the faces of the students, we feel that my students seem not to be not motivated. They appear to me that they are not motivated. Then we plan, directly we go to action here. We plan, some teacher researcher plans a design and an action plan, designs an action plan, and directly he acts, he put it into action. And with here, suppose for example, it is speaking skills. He directly puts some games which involve students in speaking English. Then he observes, and he observes. The observation is done by getting the information from the student perceptions and asking his colleague. The teacher researcher may ask his colleague to observe his class and to give him feedback. In this way, observation, he tries to make it more objective. Then he reflects. He after getting the different kinds of information, he gathers information from students' perceptions and from his colleague. Whatever the data here he gathered, he tries to analyze the results and make conclusions. And he comes to some understanding. My students are more engaged, but in some groups more than others. So here there is still some gap is there. Here when he feels that some groups more than others, there is an inequality here. Then he tries some more strategy for the other group. In this way, action research goes on. But here, when you comes to what is the value of exploring a situation here, if you see the second picture, here this is how action research may tend to be presented and carried out. However, exploring the nature of a situation before attempting to change it. It is usually a good idea and is also illustrated in figure 2. Here see the difference between the earlier picture and this picture. Here, first the teacher researcher tries to reflect, he reflects his problem. First he reflects upon his problem. First earlier he noticed in the same way as in action research that his students are not motivated. Then he plans, I plan to collect the data about this issue. Here he is collecting the data about the seriousness of the issue. He is not going to put some action. He is trying to still understanding his situation by collecting data about this issue. And he can collect the data from the student perspective. He can go to the student, he can give some questionnaire to them, or else he can interview them, he can give a checklist to them and ask how best the teacher is doing in his classroom. Really, is he able to meet the interests of the children? Or the methods, whatever he feels good, are they really triggering the students or not? In this way, you can collect some additional data or information from the student to find out the seriousness of his problem. Then he can he can ask his colleague to observe his class, and he can ask the student perception still. And in this way, again he gets some more information about his problem. And after that, he reflects, he analyzes the results and makes some conclusions that his students want more speaking activities in class. That means to come in this conclusion, he had collected the plan. First his plan is to collect the data about the issue, about the challenging situation. Later, he tried to get perceptions from student side and also from the colleague. And later he asked, he made some reflections from the data that he gathered, that he planned, and he finally made some interpretations here in reflections to understand, to better understand the seriousness of the situation. And now he starts to plan. What is my plan and what is my design? What is my action plan? How I should go to meet the challenging situation, to make it change, to make it better. Here he plans because already he got the information from his student, what the students are expecting and what the suggestions are given by the colleague and what he finally analyzed, what he came in the form of conclusions. All these helped the teacher researcher to plan an action plan here, some kind of design he got. Then he started to put into action. And his action plan is he introduced some games which involve students speaking skills. And here the observation again started. When he started his action, again it is put for objective observation by his colleague and also from the perceptions of the students, how it is working, whether it is working, to how, what kind of extent, what kind of effectiveness it is, what kind of impact it is showing on his learners. That he started to get again additional information, again data is collected here, then reflections. Here he started again, after collecting the data, he started the results, analyzing the results and coming to conclusions. And in this way, he made groups and understood in the teaching explorative action research. So now those are the two pictures earlier we have seen. One is action research picture, the other one is exploratory action research picture. That is the difference between action research and exploratory action research. Now, what is the value of exploring a situation before trying to change it? If we see what is the value of exploring a situation, there are at least three good reasons for exploring a situation before planning action to change it. And because we must, in research every time, we must have some kind of reason to do anything. In the same way here, to explore the situation. Why there is a need to explore the situation? When we came to notice the student faces that there is a challenging or issue. If we put this question, there should be some reason. Here there are three good reasons for exploring a situation before planning action to change it. First one is, before we can decide what to do, we need to understand the current situation. As teachers, we often think we understand what is happening in our classrooms, but this is not always the case. See, this is preoccupied thought, but it is there, our attitudes are fixed, traditionally it is happening. But as a teacher's research, we should not be a stereotyped teacher. We must understand the current situation and we try to understand what is happening in my classroom, in teacher researcher classroom. But this is not always the case happening. So this is the main reason we need to explore. Then in order to decide whether our action has been successful, we need to compare what happens with situations as it was before we acted by exploring the situation and collecting data. That's why in the picture too, we have done 2 times. We have collected the data and twice we have explored. Once before going the action only, we explored the situation and we collected the data from the student perceptions and the colleague, and later again we went the same process and after planning and putting into some kind of action. So we will have enough information here about the initial situation to do this. We can go very accurately. Another related advantage is that we can often use the same way of collecting data after a new action, making it relatively easy to compare the situations. So when we can take the advantage, the benefit is there that collecting data helps for the deciding, for taking a decision about new action by comparing with the earlier previous action and situations. And this experience makes the teacher more aware about the teaching situation. What is the value of exploring a situation before trying to change it? Here, third good reason is that it may not be very difficult to combine exploration in your classroom with your everyday teaching. It is not at all difficult to combine exploration in your classroom with everyday teaching, because it shouldn't, you don't think that it increases your burden. It should not increase your workload too much and should go well together with what you normally do. Exploration means looking at your situation in a different way or in a more detail. And this is, we have seen, can be advantageous for a number of reasons. So here, exploration, don't feel that the teacher, researcher should not feel that it is an extra workload or burden for him. But once the situation is understood, it becomes very happy for the students and the teacher. The exploration here is nothing but changing the direction of our perception, change to look at the situation. Here, exploration essentially it makes the situation to look at the situation in a different way. and in a more detailed manner, and we can get the advantages. For so many advantages are there. This is the third reason that we should go for exploratory action research. And what are the stages of an exploratory action research project? It is very crucial that there are different stages of an exploratory action research project. The first one is identify students misunderstand what they have to do for homework as a problem. Here, suppose if we take the problem issue as homework, if it is the problem for the teacher researcher, the teacher researcher should identify students misunderstand whether the students in what way they are understanding, or else the teacher may misunderstand that my students like this kind of homework and gives that homework to the student which may not suit the interest of the students. That becomes really a challenging issue or problem for the children. So the teacher researcher should identify students misunderstand what they have to do for homework as a problem, and keep a record of which pieces of homework students don't complete. Sometimes some children repeatedly they come to class without doing their homework, and they sometimes we forget to notice them. But we have to maintain a record what which pieces of homework students do and they don't complete. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So we must maintain it, notice it, and we should keenly observe it. What kind of piece of homework is the reason for it? Plan a new kind of homework or different explanations of homework here. So here our perspective is changed. We have changed the after observation. After observation, we came to conclusions that such kind of homeworks are not triggering the interest of the child. So the teacher immediately whatever the record the teacher maintained, he can go and consult that record and see the homework the students are very much interested and what are not interested. In this way, teacher can clearly understand and give the homework that suits to the interest of the learners. And here audio record parts of lessons where I can explain homework. Sometimes, if possible, technically, if there are facilities, audio record parts of lessons can be where while doing homeworks, students may get several doubts. So teacher can record some parts of lessons and send them, and teacher may give directions to the children that while you are doing the homework, you can see these, you can listen to these audio records. So that is the third stage, and the fourth one is give a questionnaire to student asking them for their opinions of the homework. I have been explaining here a questionnaire to students, giving this questionnaire to student and asking them to give their opinions of the homework that he has been giving. The teacher researcher have been giving. The teacher can get information from the students' perceptions with this and analyze all the information obtained and make conclusions. After getting all the data, all the information, teacher can analyze the information and he can make conclusions. Decide on research questions to help understand the issue. Teacher should come to one kind of decision only when teacher understands the situation, when he is able to get the data and analyze it. Decision becomes very easy for him, for the teacher researcher to understand the issue. And thank you everyone for being patient and listening to my presentation. With all your cooperation I have presented. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Bhanu sir. It's really wonderful and amazing.
Thank
So
you, sir.
knew everything about what is an exploratory action research and how to do that. So
Thank
let
you.
me invite our today's guest, Nazir. Are you there? He's from Karnataka.
Vinay there, good evening to all.
Good evening. Good evening. Just
sirs and madams, it was wonderful presentation. Very nicely, the concept of action research and exploratory action research was brought out to us, and very nicely distinguished. Because many teachers are under confusion. What is, they think that both are same. But here, very nicely, it was distinguished and made very clear. Okay, nice presentation, very calm and cool presentation.
Thank you.
Okay,
very much.
thank you very much.
Sir. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Good evening, Bhanu Prakash sir.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, this is Vishnu sir.
Hi, Vishnu, sir.
So, congratulations for
Thank
the
you very much.
presentation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, with all your cooperation.
Yeah, at the beginning of my teaching career, I was mystified by these teaching techniques.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
now,
okay. Thank you. Sir.
now I have been demystified. So you have given a new meaning. Yeah, you have given a wonderful meaning for exploration.
Yeah,
Changing
thank
the
you.
direction of our concepts.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. The credit goes to Vinay, sir, who has given us guidance.
So congratulations to your mentor and super mentor
thank you, sir.
and to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
and
you, sir.
expecting many more presentations. Effective
Thank you, sure, sir.
Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure. With all your
Thank you very much,
cooperation.
sir.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank you, sir. And one more guest, Suchita. Suchita, ma'am, please.
Yes, hello everyone. It was nice. It was nice, sir. Yes. For Bhanu Prakash, sir, I could see that you had understood this process very well and you were explaining it thoroughly. It clearly means that you have dived deep into it. Yes, this exploratory action research is something new, but we were doing it, but this time we are doing it like with a very clear, vivid picture about what we exactly want to do it. And yes,
thank you.
congratulations to you, because I could see that you had understood the process, not only the process, but you have it's in you now. So
thank you.
congratulations to you, the mentor and the team, Telangana team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All the best.
Thanks a lot.
All the team members.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all others. Now,
Thank you very much.
next turn is Nila Madame, ma'am.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. Now it's your turn.
A very warm good evening to all the guests here, my friends, participants. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So my love for this exploratory action research dates back to the year 2012 when I attended the tech conference, the Teachers Educators Conference, wherein we had Amol Padwar, Krishna Kalyan Dikshit, and then Rama Matthew ma'am, all these people whom I happened to find in the ARMS project as well. So that love for action research has always been somewhere deep inside me. And probably through ELTA, it has found scope, it has found opportunity. So I'm very thankful at the very outset to the British Council's Hornby Project Exploratory Action Research. And I'm very proud to be collaborated with team leaders as Mr. T. Venkateshwar Rao, the President of ELTA, Mr. P. Vinayadhar Raju, the General Secretary ELTA, the Project Coordinator, Mr. K. Sampath Kumar, and also the Super Mentor of our group. And as teacher researchers, I have in my team Mr. Balraju Konka, Mr. Radhakrishan Aluwala, Mr. Vishnu Nune, Mr. Mohammad Osman, Mrs. Veena, and Mrs. Praveena. So I'm happy to collaborate with all of them And by the way, I do not know how many of you need my introduction. I am Dr. A. Neela Madhavi, and I'm here to share on the topic, what does mentoring involve? To begin with, this is the second chapter from the book by Richard Smith, which is titled Mentoring Teachers to Research Their Classrooms, a Practical Handbook. So I'm going to deal with the 5 aspects that are there in the second chapter, titled, What Does Mentoring Involve?
Just
You are presenting your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Now?
Now it's fine, I think, because I could see your 2 names there.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. So, I don't know, I started with all great love for the exploratory action research, and I've been telling it's there since 2012. So, these are the collaborators I've already spoken about. And this was my action.
Voice is disconnected, ma'am. Voice is not clear.
Mic is not clear. So many technical
It's
issues.
okay now. Fine. Yeah, it's okay. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Your voice is breaking, ma'am.
is it breaking?
No, it is not the case with this.
Oh, it's fine, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, what does mentoring involve? So this is the second chapter from the book by Richard Smith, as I already told you. And then I've just talked about what does mentoring involve. And I'll be telling you, first of all, what is mentoring, the general qualities of mentors, trust and mutual respect, ways of communicating, and what's valuable about co-mentoring and how it can work. So what is this mentoring? So this is something which is new to most of us regarding action research, but I don't think it's new to entirely. Thanks to Corona, thanks to ELTA, who has given us a scope for being a mentee and also a mentor. So to some extent, we have had a little idea about what mentoring could be. So it is all about sharing knowledge. So ELTA has shared knowledge with us, it has shared skills with us, it has shared experiences, and in order to encourage and empower. So ELTA is a fantastic example for this. It has encouraged all of us, it has empowered all of us. Today we are more competent, more adept because of the sharing knowledge. And this is what mentoring is all about. It also means enhancing teachers' autonomy to develop for themselves. So it is not simply like a photocopy of what somebody else has been doing, a Xerox copy of what somebody else has been doing. With the idea shared, we carve our own path, we carve our own route. So that is what we as mentors should be doing to our teacher researchers also. We should not kind of impose our ideas upon them. That is not mentoring. It is not telling them something. It is not advising them something. It is not like telling them this is what you should do. It is not like I do not know whether I should use this, like what all doting mothers do. All doting mothers in India, you know, they are so supportive to the extent of crutching their children. They are kind of cripple the children by being overprotective and over supporting. So I would say that as mentors, that same attitude should not come. We should be supporting teachers to find their own way. We should placing teachers at the center and viewing them as agents of change. So we should be able to make them change makers, agents of change. So this is what mentoring is all about. And this totally contrasts with judge mentoring. Judge mentoring opposes mentoring, which means that you should not be judgmental. You should not judge your teacher researcher. If you are judging, it means that you are being prejudiced. You are prejudging them, imposing ideas upon them. You are impeding their development. You are impeding their well-being. So you should not be judgmenting. And what is this judgmenting? So Andrew Hobson, he says that judgmenting is a one-to-one relationship between relatively inexperienced teacher, the mentee, and a relatively experienced one, the mentor, in which the latter, which means the mentee, in which the latter, the mentor, in revealing too readily. So what we try to do is we don't listen to the person's ideas. We jump to conclusions and we start revealing them too readily or too often, his or her judgments. Or on evaluations, the mentee is planning and teaching. So the mentee comes out with a plan, the mentee comes out with a route, with a design, with a program, and we sort of impede that by expressing, by revealing too readily, no, I don't think this is going to work, or I think you should take a different path. I think this research topic is not good. So we might be too revealing in such aspects. So this is where we need to be very balanced and compromising the mentoring relationship and its potential benefits. So you see, every teacher researcher, she is the hero or the heroine of the class. She has got her own strategies. She has got her own ways. She knows her students better. So we should not kind of over-reveal, over-indulge, and curb their growth. So by nature, judgmenting is very evaluative, it is judgmental, and it is directive, as you can see here. So by nature, it is unnecessarily, it is unwanted. You shouldn't be doing that. So it is going to kind of inhibit their growth, impede their development, and sometimes you see it also creates a kind of disheartenment. They're so disheartened because they want to do a certain kind of research in a certain way, and just because we intervene, because we obstruct, then they say, I actually wanted to do research in this style, but because my mentor said like this, I couldn't employ it. So such should not be the feeling. Instead, we should give them the wings to grow, fly, and go in their own path. In the sense that we should be very supportive to their work. Now, what is the third subtopic is the general qualities of mentor. As a mentor, we should provide constructive, non-judgmental feedback. As I have already told, it should be constructive. And you should be willing to share your knowledge, skills, and experience. That's very important. That's where your mentorship comes into picture. You should not have, if I share all my knowledge, she's going to become someone more than me. That should not be the thing. Whatever little you know or whatever better you know, you should be willing to share your knowledge, your skills, your experience. See, that is what ELTA Telangana has done. And that is why today we are able to, you can see like I was not able to share my screen. And you see how Vinedha sir came into picture and how I had the other sir also coming into picture to help me. So that is how we should be. This is what we call as the support system. So you have to be a support. So willing to share knowledge, willing to share skills and experience. Show a positive attitude and show enthusiasm and interest in it. Unless you are excited, unless you are enthusiastic about pursuing this research, you cannot pursue it at all. You cannot go ahead with it at all. Already I have so many things To cite an example, like I say, little flower, my God, large classes, demanding parents and demanding students, and why this additional burden. Suppose I think in such fashion, it is not going to work at all. You should be able to show enthusiasm, your interest, and above all, willing to give your time. Listen to them well. So even if you're in a hurry or something, you can just tell them, I'm just rushing off to school, I'm dashing off to school. Is it all right if I could talk to you later? And then find some appropriate time when you can really listen to them with all your heart and soul and work together. So then the other quality is of a mentor is that you should have experience in the activity or in the context of being mentored. So we were all mentored by ELTA Telangana. So we do have an experience of being mentored. And then you should be an expert in the activity of being mentored. So here also I say that though we do not have the experience of being a mentor in all aspects, to some extent we do have, as I said, thanks to ELTA Telangana once again. So, what this man, Richard Smith, says that there is the lack of appropriate mentor preparation. I would like to read out. Without in-depth professional opportunities, mentors are more likely to revert to telling what to do or being overly critical, a practice described by Hobson and Malders as judgmental. So we should not be since we are not trained as mentors very appropriately or to the extent that is needed, we may sometimes be overly critical to the teacher researchers. This is where we need to be careful. And this exercise that we are doing today in sharing the views about mentoring is all in order to train us as good mentors. So though previously we are not trained at being good mentors, now we have an opportunity to being trained. That is the reason I would insist all of you friends. So please be there this week to attend all the sessions so that we could become better mentors. We should be willing to put aside beliefs and prejudices. So I already told you, this teacher, maybe she doesn't have that kind of knowledge. I can make out the first day itself, I understood she could not do this. So such kind of this prejudice comes from the word prejudge. We should not come to such assumptions. We should not come to such prejudices. We should be willing to put aside all our beliefs. And we should be interested in others' development. And you feel responsible for the others' development. You have to get into their shoes and understand the person's difficulties. So getting into the shoes and feeling the pain, you should know where the shoe pinches. That is what we call as being empathetic. So you have to understand that. And then you also have to set realistic goals. It's very important to set realistic goals. And you should be good at motivating others. And then adapt communication styles. See, adapting communication styles is very important. Vinoba Bhave, for example, he started the Bhudan movement. Why do you think he was able to gather or amass so much of land from the landlords who are not generally willing to spare even a little part of land? Because the landlords are not willing to spare their land, the terrorists, the Naxalites are attacking them. Now, what made them to come out and give land so freely? It is because Vinoba spoke in a language that appealed them. And the vast number of languages that Vinoba knows. So we should not keep an air of authority and speak in hi-fi language or no, that will not connect you with the teacher researchers. The connect is very important. Now we need to work and proceed ahead like a family and understand every aspect thoroughly. Just like how we in our family work to achieving the dreams of each other. Here also we need to do that. And above all, the bottom line is that you should be good at demonstrating to others what to do. It is not simply talk something and do something. No, you should be able to demonstrate. And the next thing is the affective domain. This is very, very important in mentoring. In order to be very effective, here I say effective, E-F-F-E-C-T-I-V. In order to be very effective, the affective domain is very important. Affective means something related to emotions, something related to the heart. So that's why I have the heart here to depict pictorically how important it is to touch the heart, to understand the heart, the feelings. At no point we should hurt the feelings of others. And when can we do this? We can do this only when we have the trust and mutual respect for each other. Make them feel valued. We should make them feel valued. We should make them feel important. We should make them feel that their communication is, that their research is important. There should be the mutual respect. There should be the equality. They should feel supported by you. So this is the other subtopic that is there. And coming to the ways of communication. Today, interestingly, I had a talk with Ashok Reddy sir, the state resource person, SCRT. So we were just discussing a certain issue when I thought he concluded and I just kept off the call. And since I was working on this project, I was suddenly reminded, my God, did I communicate properly? Did he finish his part of the talk? So I called back and I said, so you were telling something and I think I just put off my mobile. He said, no, I have communicated. I was only just telling you. So you see how this exercise always has already set us into motion. The things are already working in our minds. So communication important, So a communication can either make or mar a relationship. And the most important factor of communication is listening. Until and unless you listen well, you cannot communicate well. And most of the times we communicate with the intention of giving answers. So communication is when a teacher or researcher comes out with a problem, you have to ask questions. You have to elicit. You have to elicit the feelings that are inside the teacher researcher. You have to get the teacher to talk about her problem. And then you see here, you have this eliciting. So you have to elicit from them what is in their minds. You cannot just decide, so teacher feels like this. No, it is not what you feel about how the teacher feels. It is about knowing what the teacher is actually feeling. You should elicit answers from her. You can ask, QC. That means asking for, you have to question in order to get a clarification. And paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is you have to reflect. After the teacher researcher has spoken something, you reflect upon it. Think over it. What is it that she was actually wanting from me, or wanting me to help? And then you present alternatives to the teacher. Maybe this is possible, or maybe that is possible. Teachers are not listening to you. Or could be this is the reason, or could be that is the reason. Have you verified? Have you checked up? So you can, you need to present alternatives. And then you have here, yes, structuring or guiding to action. And then you have to guide the teacher, structure the problem, set fresh, the problem, the statement, come out with a statement, and then you guide her to the action. So communication is very important. And next I would go to the next subtopic, which is co-mentoring. This is the final aspect of the second unit, which is co-mentoring. What and how? So, we are all new to to mentoring in the sphere of action research. At such times, you can choose one of your friend whom you believe can be of help to you. So you can say, let us pair up together. Let us pair, and you have 5 teachers, I have 5 teachers. Let us pair and work together because we have the same issue in hand. But it has its own advantages and disadvantages. The advantages is that there is a scope for reflective discussion. So suppose Salome and me are there. So I can say, I can just pair up and then I can say, oh, Salome ma'am, why don't we pair up? And then you see, this is the problem that my researcher is facing. What do you think we can do about it? So we all need to be reflective teachers. So have a reflective discussion. And when a teacher or researcher comes out with a problem, it's a problem to us as well. As mentors, it is a problem to us as well. So it is a burden to us as well. It is an anxiety to us as well. So at such times, we can just say, you can share the burden, you can share the anxiety with a co-mentor, and it helps. But it can also be disadvantageous in the sense that suppose 10 of us are working together. So Sneha, me, with 10 or 11 or 12 teacher researchers. And there's a problem with one teacher. So I may be just thinking, oh, Sneha will look after it. Or Sneha may be thinking, oh, Neela ma'am is elder than me. So maybe I should not intervene. Maybe she will look into the matter. So this kind of an initiation and response can be a problem. And suppose Sneha ma'am, according to her perception, she may come out with some idea which is totally conflicting to my ideas. So this could be disadvantage. There can be a misunderstanding, misconception. So such things can arise, which can be disadvantages. So what is the way out? For every problem, there's a solution. So you can negotiate clear rules. What to do, who is to do, and who is to do what. That is more important. Okay, manidaram kalsi cheddamu. Okay, I will take this part of it. You take this part of it. So you need to have clear rules, who is to do and what. And have a regular communication. So, regularly you need to communicate. Otherwise, you just forget the issue, or you think, okay, Sneha is taking care and I just don't bother. And then later I realize she is also not taking and I'm also not taking care. So that may become a problem. So how far are the goals reached? Till where we have worked out? Such kind of communication needs to be clarified, and that can happen only through regular communication. So I end the topic by telling about the acronym for mentor, and this acronym for mentor was told by Miss Chandeep Marwa, the ARMS mentor. So she says it is M is for mentoring, M is for motivating. So I would say M is also for avoiding all misconceptions. It is about not misinterpreting or not misunderstanding. We should have very clear expectations. And she says E is energetic. So I would say that it is equality. A mentor is in no way superior to the teacher researchers. Both of us are in the same footing. Every mentor should realize that the teacher researchers and we as mentors are on the same footing. There is no hierarchy. We are all equals. So we need to understand E is for equality, and with that feeling we need to empower, enrich them. So N is for nurturing. So nurturing is growth. So N is for nurturing. I would say that growth is very essential and we need to grow. And I would also say N is for negotiating. Always negotiate. Only when you negotiate, you will have clarity. So come out with all the Socrates questions. You know Socrates, he's so good at questioning. he doesn't give answers. He only questions. He acts innocent, and he only questions. And through the questions, he elicits answers from his disciples. Similarly, we also need to keep doing that. And T is for timelines. Here, when it comes to timelines, I would say that all mentors need to be directive. Here, you need to give directions, because if you don't set them the timelines, things are not going to be accomplished. So here you need to set the timeline. And I would also say that T is for trust and care. So there should be a lot of trust and care. And then O is for open-minded. I would say that O is also being optimistic. Sometimes you see this research, it disheartens you, it depresses you, it scares you. But then you always need to be optimistic. And R is for real-time connect. And I would say that R is also for respect. There should be respect for each other. So thank you for this wonderful opportunity. My profound thanks goes to Dr. Richard Smith, Professor Rama Matthew, Dr. Ravinarayan Chakrakodi, Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, the ARMS mentors, super mentors, teacher researchers. In absentia, I thank all of them because, why I have taken all these names is that, like Eklavya, I have been a silent admirer of them. And I do not know whether you can see here the books. You see, these are the CDs which I have right from 2012. And in this CD, you can find the name of Amol Padwad. You can find the name of Krishna Kalyan Dikshit. You can find the name of Rama Matthew. It is because of their inspiration that I have been continuously developing my professional growth. So they have been the reason for me studying endlessly till the fag end of my career. Thank you, Elta, for this wonderful opportunity. I cannot thank you enough for giving me this opportunity.
Yuvraj sir, please.
Yeah. Excellent, madam. Superb presentation. Really wonderful. The new acronym that what you have given for mentor is really admissible than what was given earlier. Really wonderful. And we should coin this new acronym for this mentorship. And your explanation was has given a lot of information regarding how a mentor should be, how a mentee should be, what are the responsibilities of mentor, and how mentor should go on. Mentor should go on, and everything was very crystal clear. And you have given us a lot of information regarding action research mentorship. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. It's all your support, and you have been our mentors. Actually, you have mentored us.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Sampath, are you there?
Good evening, ma'am. This is Vishnu, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, ma'am. You have introduced a new word as a mentor. As a mentor, you have introduced a new word, judgmentor. Judgmentor. Yeah.
No, that
very interesting word.
No, judgmentoring is introduced by Andrew Hobson. So Andrew Hobson, it was he who introduced this word, the judgmentor. Yeah, judgmentoring.
But we have come to know about that by you only. So thank you for introducing a new word, judgmental. So we don't know where you collected all this information from, but anyhow, you have given a lucid presentation, ma'am, giving various definitions for acronyms, mentor, especially mentor, a very meaningful acronym you have given. Okay, congratulations, ma'am. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Sir, this is totally from the book by Richard Smith. So all the credit goes to Richard Smith. So actually, many have defined what mentoring is, but what actually a mentor needs to do in an action research is totally on a hands-on experience. Based on his hands-on experience, he has written the book, which makes the book very reasonable. In this connection, I would like to say, Sampath sir, are you there, sir? In the chat box, I wish you could share my Google form. Dear mentors, I've just made a Google form for all of you. Not wanting to waste time or cross the limit that is being given to me, I made the Google form. The qualities of good mentors, all that is there. You can rate the scale from 1 to 5, from good to need improvement. Please rate it and forward it to me. If it is not forwarded by Sampath sir, I will just keep it in our group. Please do it, because everybody need to reflect on those aspects to become good mentors. Thank you, Vinodha sir and the team, Venkateshwara sir, everybody. I stop my presentation here.
Padmavati ma'am, only thing that
Sir, good evening.
we are facing is before going, only the time constraint. Padmavati ma'am, are you ready?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Today's guests, leaders, organizers, and most of all the participants. So I need no introduction, I believe. I have been listening to the document which was shared by Bhanu Prakash sir, and also the second chapter which was vividly spoken by Mrs. Neela Madhavi. And now I have been assigned the third chapter of ARMS mentoring schemes, Richard Smith's book. And I really thank the Hornby project organizers for this excellent plan. So although we do not have time to totally read the book, this presentation could be a path from where we could come to know in which chapter what it is there and what is to be focused and what is to be underlined and what we need not know and what we need to know. So basing on this, I think this plan is a very good plan. So, and since it is already 9 o'clock, there are many pressing demands like hunger and all this. So you can, friends, you can carry on with your hunger simultaneously listening to my few words. So I'll try to see that it is, I try to catch upon the factor called brevity, bringing it very concrete into your minds. So that is a third chapter I would like to present before you all, friends. So try to have a little patience of listening to me. Thank you very much. Let me present now. Shall I do it, sir, Vinodha sir?
Yes, madam, you may start.
So this is the Hornby project, British Council's Hornby project. Thank you, ELTA, for giving us this opportunity to participate in the project. And my topic for today is mentoring teacher researcher. So this mentoring teacher researcher, right. Mentoring teacher researcher is a third chapter, and before that sir has already shared in our Hornby group a YouTube video, I believe, of the two super mentors or mentors of this Hornby project. One was Amol sir and the other was Madam Esther Gloria Sahu.
So let me review the words of their video. They said generally teachers are scared of what is that? The stress of doing the research. Then what could stress be in terms of a teacher? So as a person belonging to a feminine gender, there are many things which we have to be at home and at school and other things. We need to cater the demands and the pressing demands of all these three parts. So teachers are usually scared of time and stress. And apart from this, judging the research. Actually, madam was also telling now in the second unit of this, there is no such kind of thing which is judging here. Not only in this, in general life also, we need not judge people. Judging is wrong. So it all depends upon the situation, and also it all depends upon the objective of which we take up the course or the class or whatever it is. So judging is not a part of anything else. Okay, so Esther Gloria Sahu madam, she told that we did not, especially in terms of research, there is no judgment at all. So there is no good and bad. And if anything you feel that it is bad, really that is the bad aspect itself is the initiation for taking up a research project, is what she told in her words. And next, suppose we have taken the bad aspect of teaching or some kind of by default some kind of limitation or some kind of disadvantage or some kind of lacuna, what you find in your teaching itself is research. There is nothing that research is which is very, very new. All of us who are having a good aspiration and who all are of becoming a teacher for the cause of the students, not in terms of medals, not in terms of unions, not in terms of projects and all this. Really, a teacher who is working for the cause of the student and the learner experience already is doing the research, is what I feel. And I agree with these YouTube videos of Amol sir and Esther Gloria Sahu. So already we are doing it. But the thing is, the research, what we are doing in the classroom, either we are not registering in the form of a document or we are not doing it formally. Definitely, whenever you want to satisfy yourself as well as the learner in the classroom, or you want to get satisfied. Remember, friends, I'm not taking judgmental again. So whenever you wanted to make a satisfied classroom transaction, not in terms of administrator, not in terms of district educational officer or anything else, only the transaction between the learner and the teacher. Okay, so whenever you wanted to make, of course, obviously, we are working for the cause of the students. When we are working for the cause of the student, that too a divergent and heterogeneous group, as underlined by Mr. Bhanu Prakash. So when we are addressing divergent learners, always there is a lacuna or a pothole where we are not addressing. That particular problem, when we are taking into consideration and working on it, we are an action researcher. The thing is, now the difference between that ARMS project or whatever the project on by project it is, that particular problem, what we are solving on is really the action research. Now we need to document, make it formal. So that then what is the use? Why should we make it formal and why should we document it? Why the need of, or what is the essence of this particular project or any project in general? It is because the research findings, whatever we are going to share among all the teacher researchers like us, is going to be useful for a community at large, especially the learners and the teachers in general. That's the reason why we need to register and make the research very, very formal. So for this, what are the steps and how we have to do the mentoring is the objective of this chapter, friends. And next, Amol sir told in his words that mentoring does not mean spoon feeding. Okay, so we need not step by step bother our teacher researchers. So just now also, the teacher researchers who are there in my group are Mrs. Swapna, Gayatri, Mr. Pramod, Mrs. Vanita, and Mr. Gudi Gopuram Narendra Reddy. So all these teacher researchers, we created one WhatsApp group, and I have sent a message which was sent by Mr. Vinidhar Raju that there is a meeting. And I added one sentence, if it is possible only, you have to attend the meeting. So my meaning is I'm not neglecting it. My meaning is I'm giving them more scope to participate in the meeting. Suppose if there are no teacher researcher, because there are many things, as I've told you friends, there are many things which we need to take care of. So we did not assess ourselves that they did not come to the meeting. If we are going to share the findings of our meeting, that's it. So that's what, in terms of Amol sir and Mrs. Neela Madhavi also underlined, that we need not spoon feed our teachers. We need not stress. That's what we call it as frustration and stress. So obviously, we expect the teacher researcher to disappear in the middle of the project. So we need not press them. We need not put them into stress and frustration. We are just giving them a chance to explore their problem of their own, in their own path. Whenever our guidance is required, we need to take care of them. That too by our faith, confidence, and also in a friendly and cordial relationship. So this is a brief introduction I would like to give what mentoring is. Next, by doing this mentoring, by sparing time on mentoring, by taking this mentoring project, what is that a mentor gets first of all? Leave about the mentee and the action researcher. As a mentor, what is the benefit I get? First thing is self-development. Whoever really is interested in self-development need not be a mentor of Hornby project, need not be a mentor of Connecting Classrooms or any project it is. So whenever you are helping your mentee in general, that is, whenever you are helping your colleague or friend about some kind of problem or an issue with a lesson or transacting the classroom process, itself you are a mentor. But formally you became a mentor by this project is what I would like to underline. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Shall I proceed?
You may, ma'am. Continue.
Thank you. So, what are the outcomes? What is the main benefit you get? Self-development. By sharing your ideas with your friend or a colleague or a mentee in a formal term or an action researcher in a formal term, you are going to self-develop. You are going to equip yourself with the knowledge, latest knowledge, which you can share with your mentee or the action researcher. Second thing is the professional efficiency is enhanced. So by sharing knowledge is the content. Professional efficiency, as you all know, friends, the way you are sharing the knowledge. Yes, in the second chapter, as Madam told just now, she gave an example of also about Vinoba Bhave. Okay, so the professional efficiency is enhanced is the method, the way, the words what we use in a modest way to transact, to talk, to make a chat, to make a discussion with our mentee is nothing but, friends, it is called professional efficiency. So professional efficiency is enhanced, and by that, whatever the content we are sharing with our friends is nothing but self-development. Now, as Amol sir told, we should not spoon feed our mentees. So scaffolding the teacher researcher is the word scaffolding. As we have seen, when continuous and comprehensive evaluation textbook came into implementation, they use the word we need to scaffold our learners. In that also, we have individual learning, we have peer work, we have group work, then teachers support is required. So all these steps are nothing but the scaffolding the teacher researcher. So that's the reason why I told you we need to be very, very flexible. Whatever the path she takes on that day in the classroom is itself the path of the research. So the outcome of the research definitely will make the teacher researcher take a U-turn in case if she did not reach her goal, if her classroom transaction is satisfied in terms of the action researcher. So scaffolding is not always pondering them, always asking them, what did you do? What went on? Did you write? Did you make a note? No, that is not at all scaffolding. That is questioning, I feel. So scaffolding is, see, suppose sometime I wanted to come to your class, I wanted to see your class, or if I would have been in this place, I would have done like this. I have done this in the classroom and I got this result. Please work on it, or share your ideas, what went on. So that is how scaffolding, and give your idea. See, if I am in your place, I would do like this. That is, I feel, that is scaffolding. And anyway, some kind of poster or some kind of book or some kind of YouTube link or some type of resource input we wanted to give it to the teacher, instead of she going and searching because of time constraint, you can also do that. I feel that is scaffolding. And encouraging, suppose she is taking only individual or managing the class at that time with a group work, or making or giving her some kind of models or some kind of TLM material, what support you need to give her. That is, I feel, that is scaffolding. But always interfering, involving, doing this is wrong, this is right, this judgment we need not make. And that what went on in the class is not at all called scaffolding. Whatever she does on her own and finds her own path, he or she finds her own path, arrives at certain conclusions. And if you do that and if you arrive at that conclusion, that sharing of the idea, I feel, friends, it is called as a scaffolding. Right. Next, I told you balanced outlook. What is a balanced outlook? Balanced outlook is, as Madam told just now, we will not go into the negative aspects of their research. Balanced outlook is nothing but appreciating, applauding, and also giving them praise and admiration for the work they have done, indirectly motivating them. Because mentoring teacher researchers, first point which was given in the book by Mr. Richard Smith was motivating and sustaining their motivation. For these two things, we require, friends, what is called as a balanced outlook. Next, positive thinking and cognitive engagement. So just now I told you, negative ideas need not be always telling in a negative way is always in general life, not only as a part of project, in general life also positive thinking is to be enhanced. Negative thinking is to be, we have to discard negative thinking. And cognitive engagement, that means as a mentor, if you are able to engage your teacher researchers in terms of planning properly, executing properly, see that the work is going on very smoothly, and thinking over what path I have to take, what direction is to be made to make the solution for the problem. This problem should not arise, or this problem is persistent. What kind of solution I have to find for this problem in terms of the learners who are present. This is only a pragmatic solution, friends. This need not work. This doesn't work always. It is because the learners are always pragmatic. They are dynamic. Every batch of learners, every day with the learners is always dynamic. It changes. So involving in cognitive engagement is very, very versatile tool to see that our mentees are doing the project very successfully, finding their own solutions for their own problems which are there on the field, that is the classroom. Then what is that mentees are going to get out of it? A teacher researcher transforms to a teacher researcher from reflective practitioner. So, friends, let me try to differentiate or make my idea, which is very abstract in a concrete terminology, is what is a teacher researcher and what is a reflective practitioner. See, I take a class and I reflect on my own teaching. I'm a reflective practitioner. Now, as a reflective practitioner, I solved a problem. I came across an issue. I solved a problem. I registered it. I wrote it. And I collected data. I called my colleague to my classroom to see what is going wrong or what is happening in the classroom, to find, to share the idea. All this is a teacher researcher. Reflective practitioner is you just take a class and reflect on your own self. See, suppose we have a discussion with one of our friend, something regarding some kind of issue which is bothering you or your friend. So we reflect, yes, did I give a good suggestion or not, like that. And one more thing I would like to just humorously share with you all. See, as women and mother or the partner, we try to make many new dishes at home. So the reflection is we wait for the reflections of our family members. Sometimes it so happens mechanically they take and they don't give any reflection. So at that time we feel, what is this? Did I not make this? Did I not satisfy my family members? With what concept objective I prepared, and did I not realize? This is called as reflective practitioner. But teacher researcher is, yes, when do you become a teacher researcher? Now you shared that dish what you have prepared at home was very good, and that idea was shared by your family members with some auntie or neighbor or a friend, and they try to ask you, how did you prepare? Then you will tell them, you register what is that which went on in your kitchen and how did you make that registration. You made it with your friend. So that is nothing but a teacher researcher. This example, I believe that I could make some difference. So a mentor needs to make a teacher researcher autonomous. What is autonomous? Self-reliant. That is, we depend on our own self rather than independent, and we don't depend upon our mentor or super mentor on anything. We try to learn everything by ourselves. That is, a mentor needs to make a teacher researcher autonomous by scaffolding the researcher. By you are supporting the researcher. Where do you support the researcher, friends? And how do you support the researcher, friends? On the road to make them autonomous, engaging them actively in the classroom experiences. What is a classroom experience, friends? The teaching, learning, transaction, what we make in the classroom is nothing but a classroom experience. So on the road to make them autonomous, what is the road, on the path, on the direction? The way you wanted to make them autonomous, self-reliant. Yes, I did like this. I don't want to do like this. It failed. Let me work with this, like that. So that is called as autonomous. And in our Bachelor of Education classes, we came to know inductive method, deductive method, like this. So giving them different kinds of questions. So how do you test that your classroom was good? We give them an assessment paper. See, madam told just now, I'll share a Google form with you. That is very important to know how far this second unit was very successful or our transaction class was very successful. So that is an assessment technique. So that makes her autonomous. The spreadsheet will give us, yes, these are the parts which I took correctly, and these parts, many of them did not do. So all these conclusions which we make are nothing but on the road to make them auto. That makes her learn, and we have to give them pace, that is speed. They have to go on very on their own slowly. Some are very fast and some are very slow. For some of them we say slow and steady with this Reims. For some we say haste makes waste. So we need to be very careful while keeping them on the right path and sustaining their motivation, sustaining their enthusiasm in the project. So because we are going to take all the formal things, what are formal aspects we are going to register and present before the greater community. So we need to be very careful. We need not always push them, nor we need not always drag them. Let them go on with their own speed is my opinion. Right. Then why is this need for mentoring? Why should we do all this? Why this mentoring came into existence? And why are we today discussing this, wasting all our time and so much of number of hours? Why this mentoring? Yes, generally in our department, lack of interest and enthusiasm. So many teachers do not have interest because of many factors again. Enthusiasm, no support from the administration. If you do this project, first of all, our friend will question, what is that? If you do this project, what is that you are going to get? They are worried more about lucrative things. And many number of my friends also disturbed me telling, why are you working when you are very near to the age of retirement? As you know, friends, I'm 54 years old. So no support from the administration. That is one. Habituated to mechanical way of teaching. Yeah, I've taken a textbook, I went into the class, I've taken 2 pieces of chalk pieces, I wrote something on the board, 45 minutes are over, I came off over, my job is over. Okay, habituated to mechanical way of teaching. Yes, and suppose many number of people have already questioned. I shared many times with Sampath sir also. What is it by this technology? Why are you so much? Why are you breaking your head like this? So because they are habituated to mechanical way of teaching. Okay, so without online, did we not exist? Why this online like that? Yes, stress and frustration as they feel it as additional work. So this project work, that's what I told you, friends. We should not push them always. We should not ask them this one, that one, that one, that one like this. We should not counter them. So they are subject to stress and frustration. If they are going to drop in the middle, I suppose we are unsuccessful. Our mentoring doesn't have, did not reach or did not, reach the goal. Okay, and I feel that I was not mentoring properly. So no idea about the pleasure of research. So we need to have that aspiration. Yes, I have to do this research. I'll get this. That's what I told you just now, that we need to have interested, and they should have the sustenance of what is called as something I have to do for the cause of the learners. So limitations of collecting it, and some teachers, they do it, but this is what collecting data, analyzing them, and very strange to writing a research report. So these areas, I think the mentor's role is very, very essential. Now, how does mentoring help teacher researcher? First of all, it creates enthusiasm, it creates interest, it motivates them that yes, this is good, or it tells them that by becoming a teacher researcher, I'll be really very satisfied in my satisfying my students, and my outlook is going to be broadened. My horizons of teaching are going to be widened, is what the teacher researcher needs to know. Teacher becomes very conscious, because many times teachers underestimate, sorry to say this, may underestimate our students. So they become very conscious. Systematic teaching and learning is ensured. Whenever you are presenting and you think that this document is going to be registered, finally, you are going to make your teaching very systematic. And learning is also, when teaching is ensured properly, obviously learning is also ensured, I feel. It is just like Newton's third law. Teachers try to make evidences and try making learning qualitative than quantitative. Completing the syllabus is more important. Huh? Whether that is okay, you have to do it in time. But whether it is reaching the learners is very important, is what we have to decide. There are many occasions and very big platforms also. English teachers were pummeled with the questions that you are teaching many students and your school got 100% result, but your learners are unable to write an application. So like this, we were pummeled with such kind of questions. So that is called as, I feel, very sorry to underline, quantitative teaching, not qualitative teaching. Syllabus completed, December over, revision done, marks got, 100% result. Then where did our research go? So teachers try to make evidences and try making learning qualitative than quantitative. Learning becomes structured when supported by the mentor on the problems and issues confronted by the teacher in the classroom. So these are the things. So obviously when confronted, it is nothing but faced the challenges which you are facing in the classroom. When you could do that, finally, I think your teaching becomes very impressive, and we need not call the learners, the teacher came to the class. Automatically, the bell rings, the children are there before us, waiting for us. This is what which is earned by a good teacher, is what I feel. Teachers try to set realistic goals. See, sometimes we write lesson plans. B.Ed students write lesson plans. They have 10 objectives for their lesson plan. But did they reach at least one objective, realize one objective? Is a question again. So always the teacher researcher, whenever we are engaging the teacher researchers in this Hornby project or any project it is, we should see that, is this the goal which is realistic? So in these cases, our mentor and mentee discussion should go on. This is how we have to scaffold our mentees. Where are the problems where teacher researcher found research challenging as per the handbook of Sir Richard Smith? In his book, he wrote actually what topic I have to select, what are the questions I have to do now, what is the method I have to adapt, what is how to collect the data, how to analyze the data, and what is the research process. So presentation of these areas, many teachers, in his book he mentioned that the teacher researchers found the research very challenging. This is the area in a practical experience was shared in Unit 3 that 1 or 2 teachers disappeared in the path of the project. So friends, what I would like to tell you is these are the areas where we need to make our research, our teacher researchers very supportive. This is the area where it requires some kind of scaffolding process. So by all this, the presentation, what I would like to share with you all is what are our goals, because my unit is mentoring teacher researchers. So as a mentor, what is my goal in this Hornby project? Sustain motivation in the teacher researcher. I should see that my teacher researcher should not drop. I did not add so many number of researchers. I picked only 5, that too from my mandal itself, so that I can have a good rapport with my teacher researchers. A friendly, cordial, and positive rapport with our teacher researchers is very, very essential. And if they are far away, this WhatsApp call or video call will not be a substitute for personal chat, I believe. So, sustain motivation, the teacher researcher supporting the teacher in the classroom experiences and to make learning productive. Finally, what it is, Hornby project, what it is to make our learners satisfied. Again, he learned or not judgment. Is he satisfied by staying in my class? Classroom experience should engage and involve both the teacher as well as the learner. Teacher should think like this. If I go in this method, whether I'm going to realize my goal, and learner should always be cognitively engaged in the classroom, thinking only about the experience he's doing or he's facing in the classroom, nothing other than this. So when you are able to engage cognitively all the students in the classroom, and the teacher is making the classroom very interesting, either with TLM or with a video or with some online teaching, everything works well. But is she able to, or he is able to realize the goal is very, very important. So as a mentor, I would take all these responsibilities, to see that my mentees reach their goals. I have set these goals for myself, for my group. Mentor should ensure conscious, systematic, and effective learning for mentor and mentee. Now, I told all this, I should do this, I should do that, but what should I do now? What are the ways to ensure effective learning in the research process? I have to collect feedback regularly from learners. I didn't talk about teachers. Inviting a colleague to the class to observe and suggest certain to improve classroom. I should not go to the class as a supervisor. I should not go to the class as a mentor. Either, first of all, I should invite my mentee to my classroom to see my class and suggest how I have to improve my classroom transaction process, friends. Help the teacher researcher to focus on certain problem. We should not take all the areas. Okay, only a few areas. Focus on one area. Probing and finding out solutions by making use of critical thinking skills or HOTS, that is, higher order thinking skills. Working on possible solutions, discussion with peer to share problems and solutions. Solution thus worked out can be disseminated for the use within the community at the large. Then you will be getting a lot of feedback about your problem and how you have explored it. And your friends will also suggest what are the things to be added. So that could be a point in your research report. Then how to overcome these challenges? Regular meetings. Regular meetings means meeting should be very, very informal, just a chat. Making them realize the application of the research and how the research could be a solution to teachers and learners at large. So always appreciate this and see that this research, whatever finding we have done, is really working in the classroom, and that application is giving them good result, what more a teacher wants. building rapport with the mentees, a friendly and strong relationship, trust and care. This was also underlined by Amol sir and also Esther Gloria Sahu madam. Okay, a promising support at crucial points. That is what, those are the crucial points I have underlined just now, friends. What are the crucial points? Is what deciding a topic, formulating research questions, methods and data analysis, plan of action, or research process presentation of the findings. These are the crucial points where our support is really needed for them. Encouraging and making them realize their talent and potential. This is very, very important. Many teachers feel I can't do this. This is very new, sorry. This is very new. I can't go ahead. Now all these words are very new for me. Like this, there are many teachers who think like that, but really all of them are unsung heroes and heroines. Who have a lot of patience of doing things and lot of knowledge. Excuse me. Now, finally, I would like to add these two pictures to my project. See, the one picture is totally pouring water, and so pouring water symbolizes a mentor and the plant symbolizes a mentee. And the other project is hand in hand, people are going together. So let me see whether I go with the second picture or with the first picture. Let me wait and see. So I have tried to give you what is that the abstract of what is that I try to give you the abstract of chapter 3 in a concrete way is what I believe, sir. Thank you for this great opportunity extended by ELTA and Hornby project team organizers and also the participants. Nearly 30 participants are there, 10 have disappeared. So because it is 9:30, 9:40 now, really. And I appreciate all these members for patiently listening to me and making my presentation something which is very useful, I believe. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, sir, once again.
Hello. Thank you, Padma. Thank you. Anyone? Just respond. Somebody.
I suppose it's time to wind up, sir.
Okay.
Few words I would like to share. All the presenters were wonderfully explained all the 3 chapters, and Padmavati ma'am explained with a simple image. The image picture speaks more, like that she has explained. And Neela Madhvi ma'am also explained very well. And the first participant, Bhanu Prakash, yeah, he has also very expressively, very much impressive presentations today. I think the future will be of same this kind, and we all will be in connection with this Hornby project. Thank you for giving us, all of us, this opportunity who are behind this project. Thank you all.
Awesome presentation, Padmavati ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
You have given a wonderful explanation. And the last picture that you have shown, it gives a lucid idea how a mentor and mentee relationship should be, how they should go together, how they should explore together. Here actually this is mentors, mentees are allowed to participate in this. This itself shows both mentor and mentee work together and learn together and explore together and find solutions for the problem and document. That's my special appreciation for being the part of this program. Thank you one and all.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, sir.